Good morning and welcome to this morning's episode of The Amateur in the Morning. I'm your host, the Forex Amateur. It is the 4th of January 2021. Yes, that's right. It is officially the new year. I hope everybody had a safe transition into the new year. Wishing you a happy and prosperous 2021. So, just getting straight down into the order of business. As you know, on these episodes, I like to basically break down the charts, my view of what I'm basically expecting happening in the synthetic indices market. Recently I have been covering the dollar index as well as the Nasdaq uh, futures markets, sorry, Nasdaq equity markets. Sorry, it's the first episode for the year. So we're going to stumble a little bit getting back into the swing of things. But as usual, the information is going to be golden. And we're going to try to give as much info as possible without infringing on any other commitments that we do have. So before I get into it, let me throw in my little disclaimer. Remember, I am not qualified to offer financial, investment, or trading advice. That's right. I haven't gotten some sort of qualification over the festive season. Everything I speak about on these episodes is purely my own opinion on these markets. I do not recommend any specific trade or action. So ensure that anything that you do on your side, if you're investing, you invest with cash that you are willing to risk, and trades that you take is trades that you take based on analysis that you've done and information that you are aware of or exposed to, if I can put it that way. So today we're going to shake it up a little bit. We're going to start with the dollar index futures firstly, and then we're basically going to pivot from there over to the synthetic indices market after covering the Nasdaq equities. So let's start with the dollar index. Now, for a lot of people, people who aren't obviously exposed to this broadcast on a daily basis, the recent crash in the dollar has come as a bit of a shock. But for us, it's basically been something that I have been looking at for a while now. I don't really speak as publicly about my ideas as most people. And the reason for that is because I'm not looking to stream into the line of providing trading advice or anything like that. Don't do signal services and all of those things, because it's just not something that I'm interested in doing. But on these episodes on a daily basis, my goal for this is to make it as educational as possible in terms of helping most people as to how to identify their daily bias and how to take trades in the direction of the daily bias, right? So remember, identifying your daily bias is purely just the first step. Once you've done that, you need to identify areas, specific areas of high probability that you're looking to take trades. Once you've done that, you need to jump in there and look for your confirmations, look for price action, look at what it's doing, market structure, whatever it is, trend lines, support and resistance, or whatever it is that you use as a confirmation tool for your trading ideas. So let's talk about the dollar index really quickly. As this is the first episode for the year, I'm basically going to start from the monthly chart and I'm going to break it down from there. Now, I do have this little block on here, which I basically had on here from last year. So I'm just going to clear up this chart and let's start with it off the top, right? So looking at the monthly chart, don't need to be Nostradamus for you to have a look and see that, hey, this chart is currently bearish. And in most cases, it's most likely going to be bearish for a very long time. Now, for me, currently, I am watching this area in here as a possible bullish reversal that we would see happening from around this area in here. I did have this zone highlighted as well. As an area of supply, as you can see, sorry, as an area of demand. As you can see, this is the area which price basically reacted from, broke market structure as it was basically trading down with a lot of volume in here, broke market structure to the upside. But as you can see that the movement up from here was very corrective. It wasn't necessarily as impulsive as this push to the downside. That tells us that there's more or less still a lot of bearish sentiment to this market, and we should expect more lower prices on this market. So what I would be looking to see is for price to basically come down to around this previous low in here, perhaps give us a bit of a double bottom formation in here, and give us a bounce, perhaps something like that, and give us maybe a head and shoulders pattern in here. And then we'd be looking to see if this price will be looking to trade higher from around that area in there. Another thing that we would be looking at in here is, let me just grab my other annotated tool because because it's much easier to use. Right, another thing that we would be looking at is this structure in here that has been broken, right? So this high impulse to the upside broke basically this market structure that we've got in here for price to go bullish from that point. So in the pure element of support becoming resistance or resistance becoming support, we would expect to see some sort of reaction from here. So looking at this, coupled with the fact that I am looking to see price trade around below this level in here, not necessarily at this level, right, but more likely below this level. So something like a push down to here, push up, maybe a bounce back down, pulling back into around there and trading up from around that point, perhaps to revisit this area right in here as an area of resistance. So overall, we are still short term, not really short term because this is the monthly chart. So more or less over the next month or two, I would still be expecting price to give us a lot of bearish momentum to the downside. Let me just show this in here. Show it in this area here. So I just want to make this visible on this time frame as well, so we can see where that area is. All right, so this is that level on the monthly, right, where I said I would be expecting to see some sort of a double bottom formation at around this area. Let me just grab my, okay, let me just move it down to this wick. As you can see that there's a lot of activity in this area right in here, right? So price reacted very strongly from this level, pushing up. As you can see, strong consolidation as we could see on the monthly time frame, and price basically whipsawing at this area here and coming back down into this area. So I'll be looking to see price coming back down into around this area, give us an impulsive bounce off here, maybe a pull back to form that head and shoulders pattern that I've spoken about on the monthly, and then taking it from there. Let me just see if we've got any significant levels on here that we'd be looking to take perhaps more bearish opportunities off of, right? So looking at this area here, we've got this price that pushed down to here, formed a low, formed a high, and then broke below from there. So I'll be looking at this as an area of market structure that we would be expecting price to more likely hold below this level. So we'd be looking to see if price can come back into this area here, and then it would still be a good opportunity perhaps to keep taking sells down from around this area back down into that area. However, if price does get down into here before retesting this level, then we'd most likely be expecting price to break above this level, right? So we want to see price pull back into here and then push down from around that level. So let's just drop down to the daily time frame and see if there's anything to speak about on there. Just should make sure that this is showing on daily. All right, so looking at the daily time frame, you can see that, okay, we've already got a bit of a strong reaction of this level. So we had a breakthrough, a pull back into this area, and a push down from around there. So if I had to refine this area, we'd be looking at something like this area here, where we can see a bit of supply coming in at this point, pushing price to the downside. We'd be expecting this area here specifically to hold as a form of a resistance, keeping price driving below there. So as I say, on the dollar index, or on dollar-based pairs that we would be looking at going forward, we would expect price to keep pushing back to the downside, or a continuous bearish dollar, at least for the next couple of weeks, before we see any sort of recovery on the dollar going forward. Let's move on to the Nasdaq equities, and let's start on the monthly time frame as well. So let's just turn something off here. Okay, let's not worry about those errors for now. I was actually paper trading this, so I took some buys down in here, and I basically sold it off at around that area. So revisiting what we've been speaking about since last year, it feels kind of weird saying that, but speaking about what we've been speaking about since last year, you can see that, okay, I did project that we'll see price revisiting this high. I had drawn in this yellow block in there as well, where I said that this is most likely an area that price will most likely be pulled towards, right? And as you can see, that is currently pushing up into that area, and there's no form of slowing down at the moment. You can see really strong bullish candles, really strong break to the upside in here. So I'm still expecting price to most likely drive up into that yellow block that we've got in there before we see any form of strong rejections, before we see any form of any type of reversal, right? Now you can see in here as well, we can see that price formed a higher low right in here, and it's currently pushing to the upside. So we'll expect perhaps a higher high to form in there. If I'm looking at this market from my perspective, I would anticipate that we'll see bearish momentum coming back in from there down into this area in here, right? So overall, looking at the market for now going forward, we would still be expecting price to trade back, to keep trading up to the upside, right? We will see perhaps some intraday pullbacks, but overall, we do have a bullish sentiment to the market. I have marked up this zone in here as an area of demand, right? As you can see, price pushed up to the upside, broke this level, pulled back into it, broke above it, and then came and retested this level in here. So this level has been tested. As long as price remains bullish, we would expect it to keep pushing back to the upside, right? These arrows are really disturbing right now. Oh, was this a sell? Yeah, I think it was a sell, wasn't a buy. I was testing a sell on that daily level. Let's look at this daily chart right now. Yeah, this was a sell. I was taking a sell off here. All right, so looking at this, we can see that right in here, we formed our last higher low, right? We pushed up, broke the structure, pulled back, formed a higher low, pushed up, formed a higher high in this area, failed to pull back to form a higher low. We might still see price pull back into this area in here. So just to refine it into this zone in here, right? The structure in here that has been broken. So we might be able to see price pull a little bit deeper into here after breaking structure, perhaps. So let's just drop down to the 4 hours so I can get a clearer view of what's happening with this price. So looking at this area in here, we can see price pushed to the upside, breaking the structure. We can see a strong consolidation in this area. We can see price reacted off this specific level here. You can call it some form of a double bottom. So we would at minimum expect price to be breaking above this area for the course of today and perhaps close bullish off that area. Remember, on the weekly time frame, we have not had a retest into the structure in here to form a higher low to push up, right? So that's still a huge possibility that we can see a pullback off there. Based off that, however, we can see that price is overall still bullish. We can see that in here we formed the lower high, and lower low in here, but we broke up and formed the higher high, higher low from there. So that's telling us that there's still a lot of bullishness in this market. Overall, going forward, I would expect nothing less than to be looking for continuous buys, as we can see that on the monthly time frame we're bullish, weekly time frame we're bullish, might see a small pullback for that higher low, but overall bullish, and we should continue looking for buys, right? Remember, as I have explained since last year, that there is a bit of a correlation between the equity market, the Nasdaq equity market, and the dollar index future, or the equity market in general, and the futures market. Now, I'm not a full-on trader on those specific instruments, so I really don't do any significant back testing. I simply use my strategy for every single chart that I look at: Bitcoin, equities, futures, stocks, whatever it is. I use the same strategy. So, and I'm completely dependent on technicals. I'm not influenced by any sort of fundamental analysis. So as I was saying, there is a bit of a correlation between the equities market and the futures market. As you can see, I know I have switched charts, right? But I'm still speaking about that chart just to sort of drive the point home. As you can see, on the dollar index futures, we were bearish. On the Nasdaq equities, we're bullish, right? And I have been pointing this out since last year. So go back and check out a few of the other episodes where we've basically spoken about everything that's currently happening at the moment, right? So now we're on the synthetic indices, and I've made a decision to simply cover two charts on these episodes specifically, right? My watch list comprises of 5 synthetic indices that I've backtested thoroughly, especially over the festive season as well. And I've shortlisted down to those because I like the behavior of those indices. But on these episodes, I will only be covering 2 of those charts. The remaining 3 will be reserved for the paid members, mentorship, or whatever it is, right? But for this specific episodes on a daily basis, I will purely just be covering these two charts, which is the volatility 25-1S and the volatility 100. So let's start on the monthly time frame. Okay, there isn't really much data on the monthly time frame for 25-1S, so we're simply just going to start from the weekly chart, right? So on the weekly chart, there's a few things I want to point out. So we had this false breakout that we had in here, right? Price traded above it, leaving this huge wick, which in most cases, I noticed that when a wick like this is left, price does pull back to sort of fill that wick up before we see any sort of push to the downside or push to the upside, depending on which direction that it does break, right? So that is still very possible that we could see price coming back to fill this wick before it pushes to the downside. Overall on this market, if I were to highlight a few specific areas, so I'd be highlighting this as the area that has been broken. So perhaps we might see some form of a resistance form at this area, because this could be classified as a false breakout, right? So overall, I would be looking at this general area in here as an area of resistance to see what happens in that area, because we can see here that we did create a lower low, even though it's just a wick, right? We did create a lower low. Overall, I have had a bearish sentiment to this market for quite a while. So my initial thought process was we were coming to fill in this imbalance in here, right, before price trades lower from that area. As we can see, the price has traded through that imbalance and it's currently pushed quite significantly higher. Not that I'm really fazed by this, because I am still looking for lower prices on this specific chart. So if I were to have a look at it, I'm looking to see if price will reject from around this area in here, which is the area where the supply came in. We've got the strong bearish engulfing candle, and that led to this market structure break to the bearish side, right? So I'll be looking to see if we can see some sort of bearish opportunities off this area, and then we can take price back down to the downside. Overall, let's drop down to the daily time frame. We can see this huge injection of bearish momentum that we can see on the weekly time frame as well. Talking about that structure break, you can see it right in here as well, right? Sorry about that. Let's just make that a bit straight, right? So we can see that structure break here, right? We can also call this structure has broken as well, because we can see that it's very corrective in its bullish movements and very impulsive in the bearish movements. Even if you go a bit further back as well, you can see a bit more corrective, a bit more impulsive to the downside, right? So it's taken very long to get up into this area, and it's gotten down in a very short space of time. Now, if I were to refine this zone, we can see right in here that we've got this structure, this last structure that was broken right to the downside at this area in here. So I will be expecting some sort of bearish opportunities coming in from this area, right, pushing price back to the downside. I'll be targeting obviously this low firstly as the second take profit, actually, because we've got this level right in here as well, which would most likely be the first take profit, and second take profit down in here. And if we get a break through this level, then I'll most likely be looking to take this price all the way to the downside, targeting the structure down in here that was broken, right? Let's move on to the volatility 100. Looking at the monthly time frame, overall, we are still in a bearish market. We have broken structure, right? I have to pan in on this because this chart data is a bit messed up. Just to point out things that I have spoken about before, we've got this double bottom down in here. We've got this structure that has been broken and it's currently being retested. We can see some bullish momentum stepping into this market at this point. Not that it's anything that I am surprised about, because off this level, and yeah, I have been expecting some bullish momentum. So if price does break back into this area here, then we should expect it to revisit back up into this zone in here, right? So looking at that, currently we can see some lower time frame opportunities perhaps to the upside. I have had a bullish sentiment to this market for quite a while now, and I've just been waiting to see the continuations, right? The confirmations on the lower time frame. So let's look at the weekly time frame, and I can basically shed a bit of light on this, right? So looking at the weekly time frame, we can see the strong bullish momentum breaking this area. We can see how long it's taken for price to come back down, right? It took about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, say about 8 to 10 days for price to get up into this area, and it's basically taken about 3 months or 2 months. Actually 3 months. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is actually the weekly chart. Apologies. So 8 weeks to get up into there, and say about 1, 2, 3, 4, say about 5 months for price to get down into this level in here. Now, if you have been following these episodes for a while, you'll know that I had this area highlighted quite some time ago as an area that we'd most likely see bullish momentum coming in from there. And as you can see, that's playing out really well at the moment. So if I were to highlight anything, we can highlight the structure in here that has been broken, right? So we can expect price to give us some sort of a push to the upside, maybe retesting this broken structure in here, a pull back into this area, and then expect this market to go bullish from that area, perhaps pushing up into here, and then following the monthly analysis as well, which is if it closes above this area here, we'll most likely expect it to reach back up into this level back in that area in there. Right. So overall, looking at volatility 25, looking at volatility 25-1S, sorry, and looking at volatility 100, we have been able to surmise more likely what's going to be happening in the next coming weeks, right? So I would highlight this area here, and as you can see, we've got a bit of a double bottom in here, right? And price has given us a strong bounce off of this area in here. However, it's not a good enough reason for me to take any buys at the moment. I am still sitting on my hands. I have taken a few buys, but nothing too significant that I'm looking to hold. And the reason for that is because I am waiting for a break of this structure here, right? So looking at the daily, we can see that this was a push, pulled back into there, pulled down into here. I would look to see a break of the structure to confirm that, okay, we've got a bullish sentiment to this market. And then on the pullback into that structure, I'll most likely be looking to take buys from there, simply targeting this high in here. Right, so that's a very simple trade that I am looking to see play out over the next coming weeks, and that's over the next couple of days, and that's purely dependent on price breaking to the upside on this specific level that it's currently sitting on. Right now, we can see that this level has been significant in here as well. We can see a bit of a double bottom that played out. Price broke below it, and it currently seems to be retesting because we've got a strong influx of bullish momentum in here. So it is retesting this area and most likely looking to go bullish from that level, right? So that's it from my side. I'm not really going to cover intraday charts. As you guys know, I do stop at the daily chart until perhaps maybe a really good opportunity presents itself, and I then talk you through those things as well. But at this current moment, I'm not looking to drop below it because, like I said, the purpose of this is not to give you trading opportunities. If you look at this and you then do your own analysis and are able to identify trading opportunities, all well and good. I'm not really going to suggest any specific action, right? But for me, the purpose for this is purely just to break down the charts and guide you towards identifying daily buyers and give as much education as possible in terms of my outlook on the markets, obviously not disclosing too much of my information as well. So I'm going to leave it at that point. That's it for today's episode. Just some really good things that I want to throw in here as well. Going into this new year, I am going to be sharing a few strategies, a few basic strategies that I've used over the course of the past year and a half, that I've used as an opportunity to make some cash here and there. Obviously, it's not going to be my primary strategy, which I currently use at the moment, but there will be elements of it that I will incorporate into the videos that I do and put out going forward. So there's going to be some very interesting content that's going to be coming out, right? Not anything like anybody else is doing. Perhaps something might be similar here and there, right? But everything's going to have my own spin on it based on how I've used it and how it's worked for me, right? So be sure to look out for that. Until next time, it has been a pleasure as always to share with you guys, and I'm wishing you a blessed and a profitable trading day, trading week, trading month, and trading year. Until next time, I'm out for now.